Did you see any of the story about Netflix stuff going on with the trans protests after Dave Chappelle?
You told me about this, Dave Chappelle, and
there was a walkout. And I also wonder with these things, there's these things that happen in popular news that are all the rage and everybody talks about. I'm like, there's one demonstration at one company and it's a week later. Well, I'm going to mention it. So I apologize for for feeding what is potentially a non-story.
My question is, were they only walking out in the name of trans people?
They had demands about it was they didn't demand that Dave Chappelle's special be taken down, I think because they knew that would be a bridge too far. What they instead demanded was that there was increased trans representation at things, that there was reduction of harm type committees and that sort of stuff.
So this is the only thing I didn't understand about the walkout. Dave Chappelle takes shots at everyone. Mm-hmm. So do we need more Black representation, Christian representation, Jewish representation, gay representation? Like, I can't think of a group of people he didn't take a shot at.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is
including white people, which I think no one has ever advocated for more representation from. But if you're just going based on the Dave Chappelle special and who he insulted, it was everyone.
Yeah, to steelman it, it would be that the shots were not of equal force, and that some communities are more vulnerable, and that this is harm because people will now commit violence against trans people, whereas they won't against Jews or whatever.
But Jews are the most attacked group in the U.S. per capita.
Well, so that this is not going to happen as a result, and also that's not necessarily their fight. If you want to go protest, probably they would stand next to you if you were like, and we need more Jews.
Was it only trans people protesting?
No, it was allies as well.
Yeah, so I guess I'm curious why they decided to only ally it with this one group after a comedy special that attacked everybody.
Well, I think because the one group is the one that has stood. I think a couple things. I think that there's clearly, in terms of size, there's an activist push in that community and around that community that outstrips other communities. So that's, they showed up is part of the reason. But yeah, my limited take as I was just doing it is like, they have a right to protest. Go ahead. You can walk out. Dave has the right to say whatever the hell he wants about anything, feel however he wants. By saying something can commit psychic harm or upset them to such a degree or create a more hostile society, towards people that doesn't directly incite harm. I think it is not a nice thing to do. I think, and I don't think that's what Dave did, but let's just assume, take the worst case imaginable of this. I don't know. I think it's important that people can hate each other. I think you can protest their right to hate each other. And then I think Netflix ultimately has the decision of whether they want to broadcast it, not broadcast it, promote it, fire the people who walked out.
So now I'll switch sides because I actually will steel man this. They aren't saying Dave Chappelle shouldn't be able to say that. Mm-hmm. They're not saying he shouldn't be able to say it in front of an audience.
They're saying
Netflix shouldn't pick this up. So if somebody wants to get on a megaphone and record themselves talking about and have all these old school 1800s views of race and who's superior to who and who has smaller brains, even though none of it's true, I don't think anyone's saying that guy shouldn't be able to shout into a megaphone, and I don't think anyone's even saying he shouldn't be able to record himself. They're saying Netflix would be wrong to then stream it for everyone. And I think that's a totally fair...
Me too. Well, that's what I'm saying. I actually agree with everyone's position and think this is playing out perfectly, which is you don't like it, complain about it. He has the right to say whatever he wants, and Netflix gets to make a decision because they own the business and can do whatever they want. It's working. You know what I mean? Like, now I do think that from a non-enforceable perspective, I would argue that that people do not adopt the perception of harm, that language causes harm in the same way that fists or guns cause harm, or language even directly that is inciting violence. I do object to the philosophical stance that this is akin to an attack, like a physical attack, which I think is part of the philosophical undergirding of this perspective.
Sure.
I disagree with it, but part of that is they're allowed to have that perspective, sure. and they're allowed to scream about it. Now, one of the things, this was just, a few isolated incidents. The few videos that I saw where like people would be holding signs like, "We like Dave," and somebody would grab the sign from him and rip it out. It's like, okay, that's now assault. You know what I mean? Like, and he doesn't have to go to the police and complain about it, but I guess I'm old school in my perspective of where the law and morality ought to step in terms of curbing behavior. And I would put physical violations towards the top of the like, okay, don't do this. We need laws to prevent it. And I would put verbal altercations towards the bottom of that list. But I actually was going through this whole thing, and I said, everybody's upset. And I'm like, this is kind of how you want the system to work, which is like workers can protest, businesses can listen or not listen, comedians are telling jokes. It's like, this actually isn't horrible that this is how it's all gone.
Well, nobody really has not nobody. It is interesting to see that some people think that walkout is totally fine, but then are flabbergasted at a vaccine mandate walkout. Mm-hmm. And I personally just think whatever your view is on if employees can walk out and protest, just pick it.
There's speech that could be broadcast on Netflix that I would be like, yo, you shouldn't do that. And it would not be merely offensive. And probably for me, it would be calls to violence or something like that. But yeah, people I don't think recognize that, and they pretend that they are principled thinkers when in reality they play for a team and then jack whatever principle they think backs their team in the heat of the moment in conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of people misquoting HIPAA now because they don't want to get vaccinated, and so in order to not a reporter will say, "Did you get vaccinated for the NBA?" Because the NBA, certain cities are requiring vaccines, and they go, "I'm not going to answer that. That's a HIPAA violation." No, you're allowed to. You're allowed to say it. It'd be a HIPAA violation if someone else were to get your records and leak them. If your doctor were to get interviewed, but anyone can ask you if you have a medical thing, and then you have the right to answer or not. And you can just say, "No, I don't want to talk about it." Yeah. But you just see a lot of people misquote it because they think it makes
their case stronger.
Case for them. So it's like, HIPAA, I'm not going to answer that HIPAA. That's not what this is. You
never heard that word before this week.
Come out and say like, tons of famous people have come out and shared if they're vaccinated or not. Mm-hmm. It's clearly not a violation of their own HIPAA protections.
I wonder if it is the case. I'm just thinking, because I think I'm sometimes of this case, that people don't know why they think the things that they think. Like, I imagine that some people certainly do, but why did you get the vaccine? Why didn't you get the vaccine? I bet you most people would actually struggle to give reasons consistent with previous behavior. They'd all
give you a reason.
It. But it would be like, well, because I believe that if you can help other people, you have to do it. It's like, have you ever got the flu vaccine? No. Well, where was that principle then? Like, they would struggle to dive in and be like, oh, it's because of the severity of this one. And I've seen this. I've had that same argument with my parents, who has said essentially that, you've got we're a larger community. It's like, what was your charitable donation last year? And, sorry to pick on them because these are the people that I debate with. They, in my opinion, my parents and other people have tried to make a virtue out of, you have to help your community. And while I think that that's a nice principle, I don't think it explains the totality of their behavior. I think what explains the totality of my parents' behavior.
If you had that belief, because also it's like, if you had that belief, you would be doing something prior to
doing a lot of other stuff.
COVID or prior to the vaccine being out. And
to me, what explains their behavior really well is like, you keep CNN on all the time. Like that takes care of.
No, there could be others. You're scared of vaccine mandates. Your community will ostracize you if you don't get the vaccine.
I'm saying in the case of my parents.
Oh, okay. I think there's a lot of
what explains their behavior. What is consistent with how they have behaved since COVID and before is CNN's always on in the background, and that takes care of everything. Oh, that's why you're not really concerned with donating to charity water because they're not on CNN. That's why you think the vaccine is really important. And people don't. They don't, and many people that I've had this similar conversation, you could switch CNN for Fox, depending on what the belief is. They don't like having pointed out that they don't operate based on the principles that are instructed by their trusted news anchor that they're actually behaving on. Nor do they tend to then donate to charity or pick up the other area because...
Well, I do think in terms of self-reflection, because I think a lot of people watching...
I love you, Mom and Dad, sorry.
I think a lot of people watching...
I love arguing with you about this stuff.
they're like, oh yeah, totally. Other people are like that. I'm not like that, or whatever it might be. I think the hardest thing to self-reflect on is finding the areas where you're a hypocrite. And I think even if you don't change your behavior, it can be really powerful to figure out where you're a hypocrite. But it's the strongest blind spot in a lot of people.
You know what's interesting is one of the most viral things about these Flashpoint, whether it's trans or the vaccine stuff, is that either someone on social media or your news is going to give you a virtue that you can pretend to have by being on the side that you are on based on mere exposure. And I think I see people love that. They like grab onto it. Like, I do this because I am for XYZ, when it's so obvious that if you were to take any sort of like look at their life and be like, is that consistent with the principle that you just claim to have? So obviously not. But people don't want to do that look because, one, it would expose them to not have the virtue they have. And I think, two, show that their behavior really is, and this is kind of the sociopath thing, it's just socially conditioned. It's like, what am I hearing most repeated? That is what my morality will be and become, and I'll tell everyone else is really virtuous. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.